We're all clear, but there'll be more. Echo 7, how's the transmission?
I just bypassed security. Transferring to R10 now.
Echo 2, we've got company. Let's make this quick.
Copy, Echo 9. R10, get ready for transmission. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Hoth Transmissions. Today we are going to be talking about Bad Batch, Season 3, and we're going to kind of pull 3 episodes into one discussion on this episode for us. So we're going to be covering 12, 13, and 14. And then next week we'll be discussing pretty much the finale, the series finale. And not gonna lie, like with this so far, like the season started off so strong and it's just kind of taking a nosedive at this point. Like they got one episode left and not exactly sure what they're gonna do with it. And I know you got a little bit of information. We'll talk about it after we finish our discussion. But
yeah, so I mean, firstly, completely agree. You know, this season started off so strong for me. I mean, you know, the fact that it managed to turn the character of Omega around in, you know, from my sheer hatred of her to a character that I actually quite liked to then, you know, it's sort of whimpering to the finish line now, and it's going to take a lot for it to turn around and be something good, like for a decent finale.
yeah, because that's what I'm worried about, is that it's not going to stick the landing. Because we get Omega, she turns herself in, and in the 3 episodes that we're discussing, you had the Bad Batch. Each episode they're doing something different, but Omega's just staying one path, and it just seems things tend to be a little convenient for our Bad Batch team. Like, oh, we don't have a ship. How are we gonna get off here? Oh, pirate lady. I just happen to be here.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's a cartoon, but when they have, you know, the beginning, you know, the first few episodes of this season that was so strong and full of mystery and intrigue, it's kind of like now that they've got most of the Bad Batch back, they don't actually know what to do with them, which is a shame, because, you know, it could have been like our theories that we were coming up with, or my theories of everybody dying, hasn't happened yet, which I'm surprised about, to be honest, because I really thought that we would see the end of some more of the Bad Batch characters by now. But you are right, it's just too convenient that all these people are popping up and be like, oh yeah, I can get you to this place, and you know, it's not good.
And like you said, it is a cartoon. Like, I mean, she knows where they're at, and for story progression, it's just an easy way to kind of move things along without taking too much time on other things. So, I mean, I totally get it. I'm not hating on it too hard. But
yeah, I mean, because, you know, the episodes are like, what, 25 minutes a piece?
Give or take, yeah.
Give or take. It's sort of average cartoon runtime, really. And, you know, so I know that there can't be as much information in each episode as we would like. I mean, entertainment wise, we had
solid.
We had some really good action scenes in the Bad Batch focused episodes or segments. The Omega ones, you can tell what she's planning and plotting and where her character's heading. So, you know, entertainment wise, like if I was gonna rewatch this, which I probably will because it's me and it's Star Wars, I'm just going to go in and be like, fresh mind. I know what's going to happen, but I'm going to sit back, enjoy it, not have to think or overanalyze things, and just enjoy it for what it is, which is at this point a pretty good cartoon. It is just the downside is these last 3 episodes, when we're so close to the end, just aren't as good as what I thought they would be.
Yeah, because I thought they would like make a communication to Rex and say, "Hey, this we're doing. I'm going to transmit our location." So, because I know the last episode is like the cavalry arrives or whatnot, and I just kind of assumed it was going to be like all the Rex and everybody coming to back them up. But
well, yeah, because I mean, we talked about the episode titles, when they were announced, and what we thought they could be, and some of our predictions were way off. Others, like because we said about Juggernaut, and I was like, the clone tank was also called a Juggernaut. Well, guess what was in it? So I'm happy I got at least one thing right. One prediction was right, that it would feature the tank.
Hey, better one than none,
That is true. That is true.
But I do have to say, like, even though I'm not gonna say I struggled through these episodes, like I did quite enjoy them, but I think the best decision they ever made was to add Rampart to the mix. I think out of these 3 episodes, he is probably my favorite character at this point. Because he's just such a different dynamic to that group. Because he is an Imperial, they're clones. He hates them. They don't much like him either, but they need him. And they end up doing things that he doesn't like, but he has no choice. It's just funny.
Yeah, and he's kind of trying to put across that he's sort of 3 steps ahead of the Bad Batch, when really he knows as much information as they do. And the more that you see his character in the show, the more it's becoming more and more apparent that he is just trying to pretend that he knows more and that he is higher up than what he actually is. But yeah, the inclusion of his character was definitely needed, I'd say.
Yeah, because he's like just trying to bargain for his freedom. He's like, all right, I'll give you this information and then let me go. That's all he wants. And it's just not going his way at all. Because I found it very interesting that they wanted to break into an Imperial facility to get the coordinates.
Yeah.
And he's like, a captain's uniform. I used to be a vice admiral. Well, guess what? You've been demoted. So deal with it.
I liked that because the inclusion of Rampart added I think it added the much needed humor to the episodes. Because previously you had Omega and Crosshair sort of doing the back and forth, the banter that way. Now that Omega's been captured, there was that void that needed to be filled of who's actually going to bring the more comical moments. And so the inclusion of Rampart as a character, for me, especially with how sort of bad these episodes have been, was a welcome. It was a welcomed inclusion.
Yeah, because you think Wrecker would be the comedy skit for the group, but even then he wasn't much. Because I think it's just under the circumstances, because things are getting a little bit more serious for all of them. And so bringing Rampart in, who's completely neutral to the group, to bring in those interactions that are just comical to the viewer, I thought was a very good idea.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, on the Wrecker front, I mean, to be fair, on most of the remaining Bad Batch front, they don't really have many lines per episode. And I think Wrecker is at the lower end of that number as well, with Hunter and Crosshair having more of an interaction. I mean, I don't know if you
That is true.
picked up on that.
I didn't, because I do think Ricker does speak a lot, but not as much as the rest of the group. Now that I think about it, because even in the last couple episodes, they left him on the ship, and so the only time you hear him is over the intercom.
Yeah. So
But-
you know that comical side of Wrecker isn't even able to be shown because he's just not as involved with what's going on.
Yeah, because I mean, if they bring into like an Imperial facility and you got Rampart who's acting as a captain, and then you got these 3 troopers that are trailing him, and then you add Wrecker to that mix who's completely bigger than most of them, they look a little off. So it made sense that they had to leave him behind and become like basically the security of the ship.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand and I completely get why having someone that is about the size of a Wookiee, running after a bunch of other troopers, it doesn't work. So story-wise, I do understand it. It is just a shame that there wasn't another way to include Wrecker in the more sort of actiony scenes. I mean, in Juggernaut, he was quite vital in Juggernaut. So, I can't complain about that. He took control of the gun and, the cannons and everything. But after that, he very much kind of got sidelined. And, we got more of Echo than we did of.
Yeah, I was going to say Echo got a good spot because we haven't really seen Echo in any of the episodes up until these episodes.
Yeah. But he got
he did, and I thought that was really cool. And they had to make that joke. Thanks for the hand.
Yeah.
Or thanks for giving me a hand, or whatever the joke was. I had to chuckle at that because it was just like, yeah, Star Wars without puns just wouldn't be Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, you knew that joke was coming as soon as he put the hand on. So, but
oh yeah,
even when it was said, it was like, I appreciate that, And again, it adds that extra bit of humor in what is going to be potentially, a dark or darker finale.
I'm hoping it's a darker finale, and we'll do some predictions later. But I out of these episodes, I expected these characters to die, especially in Juggernaut, when you had Wrecker jumping from the tank as they're escaping with Rampart, and then Pirate Lady, I forget her name, shows up, and he's the last one to jump onto the ship, and he barely makes it. I was like, oh, is this where you're gonna lose him? And no, sadly.
Yeah. See, I felt the same, that leading up to that scene, it kind of felt like that would be a perfect end for Wrecker. We just never got it, and
let him die in the explosion of the tank.
Yeah, but then
Wrecker's the explosive guy, so
would that be
it would have been
too
fitting?
Similar? Well, to me, that would be too similar to Tech's death.
Tech. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing too.
Yeah, having if you have all of the Bad Batch falling down,
die by falling.
Yeah, although we never saw a body.
That's right, we never saw a body. And they also kind of just stopped with the assassin that was trailing them. I guess because Omega has been captured, there's no need for the Bad Batch to be hunted now.
I still think that there's a play for that character, and I still have my theory on that one. So
I do like the theory on that one.
Yeah, I'm if all of the Bad Batch are going into this, I think they're all going out, including Tech, who may make an appearance.
After a whole season of not showing up, as far as we know.
Yeah. It would be that typical Star Wars twist that it is Tech, but it would be so worth it in the final episode to make it worthwhile.
Surprise, guys! It's me, Tech. I've been brainwashed to fight against you guys. But I do think that all the clones that they're gonna get all the clones out of there, and I think they're gonna be kind of a little army or squad that's gonna create a lot of damage, because that's what their goal is to go into. Because speaking of Echo, he interacts with Emery, and she's like, "Well, okay, well, they said that you'd come for Omega, or Omega said that you get to come for her." And he's like, "No, not just her. We're coming for everybody." So I think all of them are going to get released. Not to mention something else is probably going to get released. That's going to cause a lot more chaos and destruction. But I did like their plan to be able to get onto that ship and kind of use it to get to Tantus. And it's interesting that Crosshair didn't say anything sooner. But I mean, they already had Omega, so naturally he's like, "Yeah, you guys are trying to get to Tantus. I'm not." But now Omega's there, so I've got no choice but to play this card now. And it was very interesting because he did grab his hand when he mentioned Tantus. He's like, "It's not a place I'd go back to," and he grabs his hand. And I don't think we talked about it in previous episodes, but we do see how they take samples, and it's from the top of their hand.
Yeah,
where Crosshair was touching.
I think we vaguely touched on it. When we first saw what was actually happening. But yeah, so I'm still wondering like what the severity or how long that went on for, because if he's holding his hand, there's obvious damage to it. And
but Omega went through it more, but she's not showing any signs of wear.
Yeah, so it's like what kind of severity has it been done? Because it looks like each person that has it doesn't have the same sort of not trembling, but the same pain in his hand, but it is very close to mine's just gone blank. The bad guy. Who's the bad guy?
Hemlock,
there we go.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of this now. It's very similar to how Hemlock holds his hand. So did they sort of change up how they did the experimenting, or I think there's more to that side of the story as well, but we're just never gonna get it. We're one episode now towards the end, and
yeah, because it just seems like there's just too many questions and not enough time to answer it. So I don't think we're going to get all the answers we want.
Do we have a run time for the final episode? Has it been released? Like the
I haven't looked it up, but I imagine since it is the series finale, it probably will have a longer runtime, I would assume.
Because that might be the only way that we're going to get a lot of these questions answered, is by having a longer episode.
When they're at the Imperial Station, I loved when Wrecker was just stayed back at the thing, the Admiral or whatever, the Lieutenant comes back, and Wrecker's just sitting there. It looks like he's playing a little video game on his He's just like leaning up, his helmet's up, and looks like he was playing a little game. I don't know what he was doing, but it looked like it was a game. He could have just been doing like diagnostics or something, but
No, I have to. It looked more like he was playing a video game of some description, because I mean, Wrecker, he's not known for being technologically savvy or yeah.
only when it comes to bombs and stuff.
Yeah, he knows
demolitions.
He knows how to blow stuff up, but anything else, like there are other members of the Bad Batch to help with that. So I think it's quite
sadly the one that knows the one that knows technology stuff is done. He's gone.
Or is he?
We don't know. We'll see.
I mean, you've got Echo as a backup for that one.
Yeah, no, because I thought it was funny. Like, there's unauthorized droid activity going on over here. I'm like, oh, that's Echo. They're calling him a droid.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny. Part man, part machine.
Yeah. I mean, when we get onto the theories, I've got plenty now. Plenty, but also very much on the same vein that I've been running off for this whole season. Plus the extra info from an interview that I have read since. But yeah, I think it's quite a cute thing if, in my mind, until it's confirmed that Wrecker wasn't playing a little video game, he was playing a video game. And I think that thought is, it's quite a nice moment. Him just being sat there, able to be more like himself,
relaxed.
Yeah, more childlike. Before everything comes to an end.
Yeah, because we got Hunter and Crosshair that are serious enough as it is, and I liked that Crosshair and Rampart got a little moment in the forest or the little jungle, whatever you want to call it, where Crosshair's like, yeah, the Empire betrayed us both, and Rampart's, well, you're just like me. You're out for yourself, and Crosshair's like, I've changed. He's like, did you though? He kind of made me think of you, because I know that the whole thing is like, he hasn't changed, but Rampart's throwing that out there too.
Yeah, I knew that.
So I don't know if that's foreshadowing or not.
As soon as it was said, I was like, yeah, you're gonna say something about that and about how I think it's still gonna happen.
I don't, because Crosshair still, there's one thing that he said, and when he was talking, he said when they escaped, Omega could have easily left him behind, but she didn't. So his loyalty isn't just to himself. Rampart is loyal to himself, but Crosshair he might not be loyal to Hunter and Wrecker, but he's definitely loyal to Omega. And that's the only reason why he went back.
Yeah, I mean, it with Crosshair and how he's developed as a character, especially in this season, it is very much, yin and yang with Omega. And even now, it's more and more apparent that, it's not just that Omega rescued him when, rightfully so. She could have just left him there. She didn't. And it's because they are two sides of the same coin. They balance each other out. And, so it's like Crosshair is missing that half of him, because Omega is, she's lost essentially.
Which could also be another foreshadowing, because Omega was there, she got Crosshair out. Crosshair's going back, and so I feel her and Crosshair will leave. I'm still holding on to that theory. And Because I know Rampart, when he heard that they're going to Tantus, he's like, "Oh, we're all gonna die." And he's like, "I never signed up for this. Why are you guys dragging me to Tantus? I don't want to go to Tantus. I helped you. Now, let me be."
I'm gonna feel so bad for having to ruin your your thoughts on this, but no, I'm not gonna.
So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
But yeah, I mean, the two the two storylines, the Bad Batch and Omegas. I think I don't know how they could have been done any better, because you can't really have a full-on centric Bad Batch episode, as in Hunter, Crosshair, Wrecker, etc.
Yeah.
And you can't just have an Omega centric episode, because at this point, with the finale rapidly coming up, it wouldn't work. So having the two stories sort of in each episode, even if, like with Juggernaut, Omega's side of the story was very little, but she was still there, and vice versa. I think that would honestly be the best way to do it, because otherwise, you're kind of showing this at the moment. You're showing the story in parallel. So Omega's doing this, the Bad Batch are doing this. If you was to have one whole episode of one and then the next one as the other, but they're meant to be side by side, like in timeline words, for me, I don't think it would work. So I have to applaud, the writing and the decision to do it this way. The actual episodes themselves being not as good as what we thought, that can't be helped. But then maybe it's because we've built these up so much in our heads.
That's probably what it is.
I think so, because we've already said that the episodes themselves, if you look at them as what they are, they're actually really good. They've got action where there should be. We're sort of thinking we've made these theories up where everybody's going to die by the end of the season, and nobody does. It's kind of, maybe that's put the negative twist on it.
That might have actually. That actually makes a lot of sense, because now I'm thinking about it, because I did enjoy watching these episodes the second time.
Yeah.
And it's because I already knew what was going to happen, so there was no disappointment that I was going to be thrown into.
Yeah, and it's to sort of go back to the Juggernaut episode where Wrecker could have died. I think to lose a character like him in that kind of way is a waste of a character. And even though I'm an advocate for characters dying, apparently, I think they have to go out in the way that fits the character. So with Wrecker, he should go out in a more fitting way, where he's trying, he's destroying things. Crosshair should go out in a heroic way, saving Omega. Hunter can go out, however he wants, because he deserves it.
Yeah.
And not that wasn't meant in a negative way.
You're saying they deserve a good ending, is what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. Not that they deserve to die. Just to clarify. Although they probably will die. So it's having these moments that fit the characters, and I think on a second watch, even though we now know that like Wrecker would survive jumping off the tank, if he had died, that would have been a complete waste.
That's fair. I think they all should have a really good ending, at least in Tantus.
Yes.
Wrecker needs to go down in an explosion. And it seems like there will be, because Omega's story arc was very interesting because she's now introduced to these other children that are on Tantus. And I want to say she is older than the rest of them. So these kids are they're not treated too well, or they're treated well enough, but they're extremely timid.
On a quick side note of that, I like how they explained in very few words that Omega isn't a Jedi. She just has her blood has the ability to carry
The M count.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, because I remember we were worried about her becoming a Jedi. It's like,
yeah. See that, just touching on that, when we discussed it, it was kind of like you can kind of see Disney doing that, where if Dave Filoni didn't want to, then he'd put up the fight. But as a Disney thing, you could potentially see that happening because rightfully so, Star Wars is for everybody, and to have yet another female lead that is badass is good, and I'm all for that. I think in this season especially, Omega has hit that level sort of from the beginning, which again is words I never thought I'd say about Omega.
But it's cool because she can be that character and not need the Force, which makes her even cooler, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it'd just be too late in the game if she all of a sudden became Force sensitive and started doing Jedi-like things. And Dave Filoni is actually really good at explaining things because, like, I remember when I saw the prequels, everybody was complaining about midichlorians. They're like, oh, that brought in too much science and ruined the mysteriousness of the Force. And then Dave Filoni jumped on the Clone Wars and completely fixed that with, I want to say, Yoda's story arc in season 5. And here he's doing it again, saying, okay, well, Omega, your blood has a capability to do this, so I'm going to introduce you to the rest of the puzzle. It's like you're just one piece to this. You're not the whole thing, but you're very critical to the success of it.
And I like how the whole thing was a giant curveball from the get-go. Because even the Bad Batch thought that, could she be more like a Jedi? Could she have Jedi powers because of this M count thing?
And Asajj Ventress was very cryptic when she left about that.
Yeah. Also, currently, still a waste of a character.
Asajj Ventress?
Yeah.
Yeah. With as much as they put her in the trailer, I expected her to have a bigger role than what she did.
Yeah. I mean, one episode left, but are we going to get to see her again?
Probably not in the Bad Batch, but I do feel that this was just more of a stepping stone for us to see her in something else. So, a waste of a character, maybe for the Bad Batch, maybe it's because we wanted to see more of her. Speaking of more awesome lead characters, I would like them to do something more with her.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to see her in this finale because based on what they're doing right now, especially with the Bad Batch, they're trying to do their thing. And I do want to say Rampart running away from that beast was the most comical thing that he did.
Yeah.
He's like, make noise. It's not going to matter. We're about to die right now. So shoot them. Doesn't matter if we give away a location. We're going to die anyway. And then we get Omega's story arc, which is a lot more calm. And her trying to come up with an escape plan and teach these kids that they don't have to be stuck there because they're like, yep, no, they just want to play these games, don't really want us talking to each other for good reason because they don't want them to plan an escape. But Omega is not the type that's just going to sit and take it. Because as far as she knows, yes, the Bad Batch are trying to get there. She was with them and knew how much they struggled to get the location. So she's starting to take things in her own hand. And good thinking on her to see how hollow the wall was and see if there's more to it than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Omega side of these episodes, we see her from when she arrives back on Tantus, and we see her interacting with the high or the force sensitive kids,
Children.
yeah, so we know that something's up, but I think this is where again the whole like badass side of her comes out, because she's not forcing the kids into anything to try and escape as such. She's like, be a lookout, act natural. She's keeping them calm so she can do what she needs to do, which is what sort of she's been training for by being with the Bad Batch themselves.
Which is funny because she's like, cover me. What does that mean?
Yeah.
It's like stall them. That's basically what it means. Stall them. And based on the amount of time that Dr. Scalding came, and Omega was sitting there running through the walls and stuff, I feel like she didn't have that much time, but it seemed like she got a lot done in that. That seemed like she got back quicker than the amount of time that it portrayed her to be gone.
Yeah, that's the one bad point that I have about this whole. Even on a second watch of the episode,
Mm-hmm.
that was the one real negative point, is you can't delay someone that much. They would have been done, and that was very much a sort of plot armor type situation where she gets back in the nick of time somehow, when it's reality is it would have been way longer than what was on the screen.
And to put the wall back together, you feel Dr. Scully would have heard her come back and all the noise that she would have been making.
Yeah, because you'd have to at least try and bang that tile back into place so it sits properly. But that aside, that one negative point.
Yeah, that was pretty much it.
Yeah, like I think we've gone into these 3 episodes sort of with the wrong mindset, because we have, and we have gone in thinking that something big has to happen, that characters are going to die before they even get there. And actually, like we've said, thinking about it, it makes perfect sense. This is like the thunder in the distance, and with every episode it's been getting louder and louder, and the energy is building up, but we're not quite there yet. So then when we hit the finale, it's here is the thunderstorm, and go.
Yes, because she discovered a creature that's going to be her plan of escape, which is very intriguing that they're bringing this beast back, because a lot of people, because this creature showed up in the Clone Wars. Palpatine was able to subdue it and capture it, and then we heard nothing about it since.
Yeah.
And so here we have the Zillo Beast, which is going to be a very interesting wild card for the next episode.
Yeah. And I mean, I've got some theories on that as well, and how certain characters might meet their end. Because
I think now is the best time to jump into that.
then let's go for it. So
let's go for it.
I think so. Theory one is.
So is this anything to do with the interviews that you read, or is this just theory without?
This is a theory without. I'll go into
Okay.
We'll go through the theories, and then I'll go into the interview that I read, and where my interpretations of that as a separate sort of thing at the end, because I don't want it to skew
Gotcha. Okay.
any thoughts of this. So theory one is Hemlock and Rampart fight each other as a way of like.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
It seems like they're keeping both characters separate for a reason, and I think they will have it out in the final, in the finale, and both will meet their end for the Empire, but in different, that they would. I think Rampart is going to be fighting Hemlock on a bridge, one of the walkways above the Zelo Beast, and
classic Star Wars scene.
Classic Star Wars, yeah. He's going to push Hemlock over the edge, and Hemlock's going to get eaten by the Zelo Beast.
Ooh, okay. I can see that.
If that doesn't happen, I'm okay with that. But I think that would be a good way to end this character. Just because, why not? I can't think of a better way, unless it's going to be maybe Hemlock versus Hunter, and they're both going to shoot each other and die in their respective ways.
Yeah.
Or
Crosshair versus Hemlock. I see that being a thing too.
I thought about this because I have written down these theories, and I thought Crosshair would be the logical option. But I think it would be more Hunter, because he's had less involvement with Hemlock, but he's there to save Omega as well as, everyone else is.
Right.
So I think he's going to meet his end. I think Crosshair is going to be the one to help Omega and the kids escape. And he's going to meet his end with not Tech.
That's fair. That would be an interesting duo, the Assassin versus Crosshair.
Yeah, and it will be the reveal then that it'll be sort of similar to Obi-Wan and the Obi-Wan Kenobi series and The Last Jedi, where the helmet gets destroyed a bit, and you can see then that Tech is still alive, and I can kind of see that happening more, and then both characters will meet their end that way. I think Omega's probably going to meet her end somehow. How, I'm not sure. I think her and Emery might destroy the facility. Sisterhood United and all that stuff. They'll probably work together to destroy everything, which is why then in Mando they're after Grogu to resume the cloning and Project Necromancer. The only one I haven't got pegged down in my head is Wrecker, because he deserves the kind of death where he's potentially setting off. Yeah, but if Omega and Emery the ones to be causing the explosions, I don't know where he would fit in, unless the explosions fail and he goes in sort of head first to set them off, which then causes everything to sort of blow up. So
right.
That's kind of my theories on how everybody meets their end in the finale, because I don't, as bad as it sounds, I still don't want any of them to survive.
Mm-hmm.
I've enjoyed this season. You know, it has been the best one, and I would rather them end on that high note of, yeah, we never see these characters again, so they shouldn't exist after this.
Okay, that's fair. I'll take that. Other than the Zilla Beast, I don't really have any theories for the finale, which is surprising. Because I think all my theories I've already said prior, and I'm still holding on to the Crosshair and Omega thing. But we'll see where that goes. Because maybe Crosshair does die, and then Omega is now the leader of these kids, and then Omega has her own little Jedi squad or something. I don't know.
So on that front, I'm gonna have to say this. Let me bring it up again.
The interview.
So, the interview. Yeah. Why can I not find the interview? Insert random hold music here.
Elevator music.
Yeah. Right, hang on. Hold fire. Right. Seriously, how have I managed to lose it? I literally was on it a few seconds ago.
Check your history.
I hate. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I hate technology. Or technology hates me. Here we go. So Michelle Ang, who voices Omega, she's done an interview where Omega. So this is just reading it now. So Omega originally had a very different ending that would have seen the character set on a path that would have made her a major player in Star Wars canon. So, you know, from that, it's already been said that the story's changed. So instead, however, the writers changed the ending to one she described as bittersweet. So I think from that,
Omega dies.
Yeah. So if that's I mean, it that could be a complete misdirection. But at the same time, you know, this isn't like Marvel level of stuff where everything's changed in a trailer and interviews. You know, this is a relatively small cartoon in comparison. And
even then, Dave Filoni doesn't like spoilers.
Yeah.
And he usually has his people very cryptic. So
but
I'm wondering.
I think at this point, though, you know, if Omega's story was originally meant to be the happier ending, then this is kind of the best way for it to end. Because I mean, the actress then did go on to say that this is now in a podcast interview. Her hope that Omega's ending would still have a great impact on the future of Star Wars storytelling. And I interpret the words Omega's ending as
definitive.
Yeah, as she's dead. Will be killed in some way.
Interesting. So that would make the Bad Batch team go their own way, and maybe the foreshadowing of Crosshair being loyal to himself. Maybe without Omega, he's just going to leave the Bad Batch, and then Wrecker and Hunter and Echo will just go do their thing. Interesting. Or they all die.
I think with that in mind, that they are all going to die in a fitting way. You know, I don't think it'll be it goes back to the whole Wrecker potentially dying, by jumping off the Juggernaut onto that ship. That would have been a waste of a death. I think they're going to have their final heroic moments, and it'll be a good way to put, the Clone Wars to bed as well, because they're basically now they're the remnants of that era, and for them to go out in one final good way, I think is
It'd be cool.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I'm pretty excited for the finale now. We're only a couple days away, so let's go.
Yeah. I can't wait. It's gonna be interesting, and I went into the Bad Batch when season 1 first came out, thinking, oh, it's going to be about these cool guys that were in the Clone Wars, and I hated it because it wasn't. And now it's got to the point where this season really has turned it around for me, and it's really sad that it's taken 3 seasons for it to be the show that it should have been, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. It's gonna be interesting for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just a couple of days away from the finale, and you guys will hear our thoughts on it, because it's gonna be one. And so that's gonna end our episode tonight, guys. So like I said, be back next week if you want to hear our thoughts on the finale, and we'll see you guys next week. Before we end and you guys leave, check in the description below for our link tree, where we have our Instagram and our Discord. So be sure to join our communities there. And then also we got some cool merch down below. So check out if you want t-shirts or some cool merch. So we'll see you guys next week. May the Force
be with you
always.